Hello there and welcome to this week's video in which I'm making my interpretation of the monster from the amazing film Young Frankenstein, and he'll join my interpretation of Dr. Victor Frankenstein that I made a few weeks ago. I just felt that I had to make this model because, you know, who's Frankenstein without his monster? So it'd be quite interesting to make this one because I've not made this version of Frankenstein's monster before. I've made the typical version of Frankenstein's monster a few times now, so yeah, it'll be quite interesting to make this version. So unusually I started with the base this time around. I usually like to make a face, but it was quite hot in the studio when I first decided to make this model, so I went with the base as it's generally a little easier than the face. So I've been researching a few facts about Peter Boyle, who of course played the monster in Young Frankenstein. And interestingly, he met his wife on the set of Young Frankenstein and they went on to marry. And John Lennon was Peter Boyle's best man at this wedding, so gosh, can you imagine that? Let's hope that he sang a few tunes for them all. I do love the Beatles actually, and particularly John Lennon, so I'm sure that was an amazing day for everybody that was there. And Peter Boyle credits Young Frankenstein as his highlight of his career actually in playing the monster, so I wonder if meeting his wife on set was one of the reasons why. But you know, working with Mel Brooks and Gene Wilder, Cloris Leachman, what an absolute dream of a project. So I've not actually seen the film The French Connection, even though it's an absolute classic and I should really watch it at some point, but Peter Boyle was asked to play the role of Popeye Doyle, which he turned down. So Gene Hackman played the role instead, and he a little later won an Oscar for the role. And he of course then went on to play the role of the blind man in Young Frankenstein. So it's kind of interesting that they ended up in the same film together. So here I am working on the face of the monster, and this actually took quite some time to make actually. I think because Peter Boyle's monster had so much prosthetic work on him, it was yeah, a little difficult to try and replicate that in my own style. I think I got there in the end. I'd be interested to know what you think. So I think one of the more iconic scenes from the film, because you know there are a few, when it came to the putting on the Ritz scene, obviously while he's singing and dancing alongside Gene Wilder, they kind of had no idea how the monster should respond to, you know, Gene Wilder singing to the monster. So Peter Boyle just kind of responded in the moment really, and I would do an impression of it, but I really don't think you need to hear that today from me, so I'm sure you can remember what it sounded like. So basically he kind of responded with that, you know, the monster kind of version of putting on the Ritz. And the filmmakers loved it so much that they just stuck with it really. You know, sometimes the first version of something is the best, so yeah, they just stuck with it. So it really works though, doesn't it? It's just brilliant. So I finally finished his face here. It did take a hell of a long time really, but I think it was worth it. And I should do an obligatory introduction, shouldn't I, if you're new to my channel. My name's Lizzie and I'm a polymer clay artist and illustrator, and I've got a real love of pop culture actually, and in particular spooky movies. So I'm really excited about, you know, the run up to Halloween, so I'm really trying to think about what characters that I'd like to make really on the run up to October. So let me know if there's a character from a film or book that you'd like to see me make, and I'll certainly give that some thoughts. And yeah, I make weekly videos about my pop culture related sculptures, but I also make tutorials the occasional advice video, that kind of thing as well. So if you like what you see, go and hit the subscribe button, and remember to hit that bell for notifications as well. So one of the more interesting facts about Young Frankenstein that I found out, and I was going to mention this in my previous video but I didn't have time, but Gene Wilder, who obviously co-wrote the movie, was really not keen at all on the idea of Mel Brooks appearing in the film. And Mel Brooks is, you know, well known for appearing in the odd cameo role in his films. But for some reason Gene Wilder just thought that it wouldn't work, because he thought that Mel Brooks had a way of breaking the fourth wall, and he felt that it was almost too much of a, you know, comical nod to the viewer, and he wanted to keep his film a little more straight than that, although it is obviously a comedy. But he just felt that it was probably a little too slapstick with Mel Brooks involved really in that way. So I think reluctantly Mel Brooks agreed to that, but it was the proviso actually of Gene Wilder taking on the project. And as much as I love Mel Brooks, and you know, I've spoken about that before on my channel, it's a difficult one though, because I think if you've got Mel Brooks available to be in your movie, it's gosh, a difficult one to turn down really. But yeah, perhaps it was for the best really. So the body's coming together pretty well now. I'll just add on the arms. Incidentally, and this is one for the more regular viewers, I've been looking at some of the projects that I've made previously on my YouTube channel for pin badges and smaller projects and that kind of stuff. I am planning to add them to my Etsy store at some point soon. I have got some other project work going on at the moment, but I'm hoping to add them throughout the course of August actually. So if you're interested in a more affordable piece of Clay Disarray arts, then they'll be the ones for you hopefully. So yeah, hopefully stay tuned for more on those. So I'm just going to add some more hair to the monster here. I think it's coming together quite nicely. And here he is, all done, and I'm really happy with this because I wasn't entirely sure that I'd captured Peter Boyle's version of the monster. And I think he works particularly well alongside Dr. Victor Frankenstein as well. So I hope you enjoyed it. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next week.